Believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room.
7
the
minutes
only
after
way
8.
to start your day.
Welcome to the third hour of the Situation Room, still live on Spice FM, KTN Home, and online on YouTube and Facebook where we live stream the show. I&M Bank is telling you, walk into any I&M Bank branch countrywide. I&M Tunakujali with the largest personal unsecured loan in the country. Largest unsecured personal loan in the country, up to 10 million shillings from I&M Bank. They're saying, come, let's empower your prosperity. Whether you're a civil servant, a private sector employee, working for any organization, MSME, or even NGO, all you need is to walk to I&M Bank with your payslip and an introduction letter from your employer, and then you have a conversation. They can give you unsecured personal loans up to 10 million shillings and a maximum tenure of 96 months. That's 8 years. Imagine the lowest amount you can get is 50,000 shillings and the lowest tenure is 12 months. Don't worry if you have another unsecured loan from another bank. Well, just walk in there. They can actually take over or buy off that loan and top up your loan, and then it starts from that day. So you have another unsecured loan, even if you're an I&M Bank customer, and then you're going there and you're like, okay, or by the way, I've been doing this. Talk to them. They'll discuss. If you come from another bank, you have an unsecured loan from another bank, you can walk into I&M. They just look at you and say, all right, so you want a top up? Like, how much more do you want? 7 million? Sawa, hakuna shida. Just bring your payslip, look at the payslip, see, yes, you qualify. After that, you get your money. It's as simple as that. If you are not able to walk into an I&M Bank branch today, you can call them 0719 088 000. That's 0719 088 000. All right. We'll continue the political conversation. This time, let's look at the former ruling political party, the third largest political party in Parliament today, the Jubilee Party. We had the Secretary General, the registered Secretary General of Jubilee last week in the studio.
Good adjective.
Yes, you have to qualify. We had the registered Secretary General of Jubilee in the studio last week, Jeremiah Kioni. One of the members of Jubilee is now joining us. Ngunjiri Wambugu, the former MP for Nyeri Town. Good morning.
Good morning, Eric.
How you doing?
Salama sana. I also caught myself laughing when you had to qualify.
Oh, yes. It's important. Hey, nowadays with Jubilee, there's a Secretary General and there's an acting Secretary General. There's a party leader and there's a party leader. Acting party leader. You know? And the acting Secretary General is also, on the other side, registered as the Director of Elections. Is that not so?
Yes.
Yes.
And
there's an NDC and maybe there's no NDC.
There's an NDC that's been cancelled, and I saw the newspapers put it in quotes.
Yes.
So
Is there an NDC or is there no NDC?
I guess we'll know on 22nd.
And that's what we shall find out. Welcome, Ngunjiri.
Thank you very much
for this conversation.
Thank you.
CT is not in today. We were all unwell yesterday, and we've told him, okay, wait, just take some time. Yeah. Charge your batteries fully. Come back. So I have the proverb. The proverbs this week are from Somalia. Today's proverb is either propose something yourself or agree to what is proposed by others. Either propose something yourself or agree to what is proposed by others. If you don't come here with a solution, then go with the solution that's been provided.
That's a good one, actually.
It's
a very good one. A lot of Kenyans should take that advice.
Don't just
criticize.
Get into Twitter and just fire salvo. Yeah. Propose your solution.
Yeah.
What is your solution? Ngunjiri, are you still a member of Jubilee?
Yes, I am.
Last I checked, you were a member of Jubilee.
I still am.
In fact, you vied under Jubilee.
Yes, I'm a very, very, very...
So which Jubilee now are you in?
I'm a member of Jubilee. When all this is said and done, there will be Jubilee. And there is Jubilee, there will be Jubilee, because when all this is said and done, we're going to be left with a party. I think first, let's start with the positive side of these wrangles. It means, there was this conversation that Jubilee has died. The fact that we have wrangles and we're making newspaper coverage and we're having conversations on Spice, the Situation Room, means we haven't died, which is a good thing. And, they say in politics, all news. Whatever it's positive, negative is good news. Anything that makes people talk about you, it's actually a good thing. So this is good for the party. It also makes people realize that the party didn't go anywhere. Now we all know that the party is the third largest party in parliament today, which wasn't common knowledge before. There was this perception that Jubilee just quit, after the last election. So, and then a lot of the things that are making this faction or fight happen are coming to the light. We have, for example, when we listen to Kioni, you hear his argument is that, we are in Azimio, and because we're in Azimio, we need to be doing what Azimio is asking us to do. And then you listen to Kanini and Sabina, and you hear them arguing, no, Azimio is not treating us well. So why I'm saying I'm in Jubilee is because when all these conversations are done, we will have a party. And it's not going to be Jubilee A and Jubilee B. Somebody is going to win this battle.
But at this point,
yes,
are you in A or B? You are the last person to say you are in Jubilee. Because when you talked about Jubilee for the last 5 years, there were 2 Jubilees. And it was clear. You were Jubilee Kieleweke.
Yes.
In fact, you came up with the Kieleweke tag.
Yes.
And then there was Jubilee Tangatanga.
Yes.
And it was clear where you were in Jubilee Kieleweke. There were those people who were in Jubilee Tangatanga. Now we have 2 Jubilees. I don't know what we are calling them. Whether we are calling them Jubilee Azimio or Jubilee Kenya Kwanza.
Incidentally, at that moment in time, when we were doing Kieleweke, what we had, again, were factional fights, but we still had one party. Same thing that is happening today. I hope we'll not go the way we went in the previous term, where some people will leave. Actually, a couple of weeks back, I made a very strong request to both factions. I mean, if we can have a bipartisan conversation at national level between the president and President Ruto and Raila Odinga, I don't see why Kanini Kega and Kioni cannot sit down and have a bipartisan conversation as well from within the party. Because it doesn't matter who wins this particular fight. As we saw last time, yes, we could have said we fought. Those of us who are calling ourselves Jubilee Kieleweke fought, managed to push out those who are Jubilee Tangatanga, but the party lost. Ultimately, we were so much weaker because of what happened. So the lesson that we need to carry forward is that it doesn't matter who is going to win this fight. Jubilee is going to be weaker. Okay. So if we are to carry that forward from that lesson, because we need to learn from history. Yeah. My proposal would be let's not go that route again. Doesn't help any of us.
To prevent the pains of this whiplash which we're all feeling right now, maybe we need to look at the cause of this fight. First of all, what is the fight and what is then causing it? What's the problem?
Let me just try and answer your question as candidly as possible. What we are having is a supremacy fight. Okay. A supremacy fight made up of people in parliament or people in office, whether it is IALA or in parliament, and those who are not in parliament. If you look at what's been happening, Kioni didn't make it back to parliament last time, though he's actually Secretary General and working for the party. Yeah. So we have officials of the party on one hand, including the party leader, former President Uhuru Kenyatta, and then we have elected members of parliament who are trying to play. Each side is trying to figure out wants to be left owning the party because of where we are going forward. We have, of course, the feeling that the people in parliament want to take Jubilee and go with it to Kenya Kwanza. And then we have the people outside parliament saying, no, you can't auction our party to Kenya Kwanza. But then there's argument from now the people in parliament arguing, but then you're auctioning our party to Azimio. If you're going to auction it to someone, you may as well auction it to somebody who will actually do us some good. Because why would you take us to opposition?
One who brings the goodies.
Because it looks like we're being auctioned either way. Either to Azimio or to Kenya Kwanza. So the question is, if you're going to be auctioned and you can't stop yourself from being auctioned, then have a conversation about what you're going to get back in return. And I always argue, former President Uhuru Kenyatta in 2002 was a party leader of KANU. And he was the official leader of opposition. And he made a strategic decision to join government. And he crossed over and he got really bashed up by ODM at that moment for that decision. But he made a strategic decision to go and join government. Of course, later on he left KANU. But for that period of time...
That decision also saw him leaving Kanu because of the infighting that started within Kanu.
Yes.
That you have sold us to PNU.
Yes. But you see, the question about politics is then did it move that team to the next level? Because at that moment in time, what would have happened? For example, Uhuru Kenyatta would most probably not have come back into parliament, might not have gotten re-elected in that particular election. So sometimes you have to make that current decision, even as you're hoping it means that you're moving forward in some way. I think at this moment in time, the question for most of us in Jubilee is, what is there for us in Azimio at this moment in time? I've been talking to my colleagues who are in parliament.
Yeah.
You get the feeling that Azimio doesn't give them a lot of respect at this moment in time. First of all, Azimio argues that you guys have already gone. So when they're sitting down to have conversations as opposition, they don't invite Jubilee people who are elected because of the perception that nyinyi mshahama, you're already on the government side. And the question that one of now the people in parliament was asking is, we are a party. Wiper goes and does a retreat and makes a decision whether or not they're going to support something that Azimio is doing.
Yep.
It's not assumed that because they're in Azimio, they will automatically follow whatever decisions that are made within the Azimio. The same thing is supposed to happen within Jubilee. It doesn't happen. So you have that fight coming from the parliamentary people. I know there are 38 members of parliament. When positions were being distributed for chairmanships of the committees that the opposition is supposed to have, Jubilee ended up having the short end of that particular stick. And that has been happening. Look at the bipartisan teams that were formed. Azimio formed their team. Despite the fact that Jubilee is the second largest party in Azimio, it doesn't have a single person in that bipartisan team.
Yep.
So you can see where Akina Sabina are coming from with their argument. Now, Kendi on the other end is arguing that, we signed something and we have to stick to our principle, we have to stay within Azimio. But you have to ask why. Politics is about interests.
What do you think? Should Jubilee stick within Azimio? Or should it accept overtures from Kenya Kwanza? Because there are overtures from Kenya Kwanza.
There are overtures from Kenya Kwanza. And there are overtures from, actually, I don't think there are any overtures from Azimio. I think Azimio is assuming they have to stay.
Yeah, you are a founder member.
Yeah, so they're assuming you have to stay in here. And I think this is a conversation that our party needs to have before we jump out to the streets and start fighting each other. We need to have a very candid, unemotional conversation, because there are things that I see happening within Jubilee right now. And I'm sorry to say this, I see this happening within, for example, our party leader, Kioni, to some extent, a very emotional refusal to accept the reality that we are in right now.
Which is?
We fought Kenya Kwanza very hard.
Yeah.
Sometimes to a very personal level.
Yeah.
And then Kenya Kwanza won.
Yeah.
And they won despite our best efforts.
Yeah.
I think there is a part within our national leadership that has never actually accepted, at an emotional level, that William Ruto is president, that Kenya Kwanza is running government. And to that extent, every time you hear...
the backyard, the stronghold of Jubilee is gone.
It's gone. So every time you hear you have an overture from Kenya Kwanza, instead of putting it on the table and actually looking at it from a point of strategic interest for the party, it's that emotional reviews. No, we cannot talk to these guys. And you can't do politics like that. So, for example, I feel very strongly again that former president and our party leader now, Uhuru Kenyatta, needs to actually recuse himself from this conversation. Because let me tell you what's going to happen, Eric. I have a lot of respect for Uhuru Kenyatta. I mean, a lot of us stood with him to the extent we knew we were going to lose our seats, or we felt there was that risk. We kept being told, listen to the ground, move. I don't think there is anybody who would argue that had I moved to UDA, I would be a member of parliament right now in Nyeri Town constituency. Most probably I would be a member of parliament. I mean, you can never say 100%, but to a large extent, we stood with him up to that point. I don't want to get to the point where I am crossing words with him because of where the party is supposed to be going. He did his part, and he did a good job. But he needs to accept that he really doesn't have a vision for the party beyond where we are. Because remember, a party must be run by somebody with a vision. The former president, gave us his vision, took us through 10, 12 years under Jubilee, from when it was being formed into a coalition, then onwards to a party. He ran the government for 10 years. He's retired. as president. Now, when you're running a party, whether you look at Raila Odinga or Kalonzo Musyoka, the people follow you because you're running for president. So you want to be president, and you have a party that is the vehicle through which you'll negotiate, campaign, popularize your policies to go and lead government. Now, as Jubilee, being run by the former president, we are being run to where? He's done. He can never be president again. He can never be head of state again. He can never be leader of government again. He can never be in charge of introducing policy again. So as much as we respect him and as much as we want him to stay with us, he really must accept that he can't run a party again. And it's actually as simple as that.
So what should
Once he
do?
accepts that, because even in other countries, even in the first world, once you retire as president, you become part of an honorary team of advisors to the party. But you can't run the party. Not unless you're planning to have another run for the presidency. Because the presidency is the apex of a political career. Once you've achieved it and you're done, where are you taking us?
Why do you think he still wants to remain at the helm of the party?
I think it's what I said, that part of an emotional...
Like it is his baby and he wants to...
First,
keep hold
there's
of
that thing of it's his baby. Second, he thinks and he's scared that, yes, you might actually go and work with Kenya Kwanza, who I still get the impression are people he still has a very personal problem with. But then it's a personal problem. And that's where we are. So he's making a decision saying, I mean, I watched him that day on the streets. But the first thing I saw was a picture. I didn't see the video. I was sure it was a Photoshop. I could not believe
Which streets?
the day he went to Kileleshwa to fight for...
Those are not streets. That's your party office, brother. That's
No, he didn't actually get to the headquarters. The first pictures were in the street.
I was on the road too.
On the road too.
Yeah.
But so
When
he's
you
in the
say
street.
the streets, brother. You make it sound like you was Commander Mano.
No. He was in
Tear gas.
Mandamano. He was in the street that goes to the party office. And I remember thinking, man, how did we get here? How did we get to the point where a former president is actually in the street with Akina Gaucho and other guys from ODM defending the party against other members of the party? It was just bad. And that's at the point at which I remember telling myself, Uhuru needs to actually step aside from this battle. He needs to sit over there. He needs to call Kioni and Kanini, both of them, without taking sides. Tell them, can you sit here? What is it that you get? What do you want to do with this party? Where are you going with this party? Listen to one side, listen to the other side, and make a decision for the party. Not based on personal issues, because now we have another election in 4 years. 4 years, 3 months. How are we preparing for it? Are we preparing for it? I know people are saying the party might die, the party might leave. That is up to the membership of the party to decide. If the membership of the party went and said, we are wrapping up this thing, that's it. It's a democracy.
Okay. What role, and let's look at this as constructively as possible, what role do you feel that Jubilee is playing in Kenya's politics today? And what role do you believe Jubilee ought to be playing?
First, I don't think Jubilee is playing any role right now. And that's we are so busy fighting within ourselves. We're actually not doing anything else. That's the reality, right? We're not doing anything else.
It's like Team B that doesn't get a chance to
we're just there. We are on the sidelines of national politics at the moment. And we're actually fighting outside the field where guys are playing. Us guys are just over here. So the reality is, at this moment in
You're
time,
outside the stadium.
we're for all you know, we're not even in the game yet, right? And it's very sad, considering we're the third largest party. Let me tell you one of the parties that I actually admire, and its ability, and it's something we can learn from. Wiper. Wiper is a very interesting party. It's never very large in parliament. Even in the last parliament, it had like 25 members. I think it has more or less the same number of members right now. But they're cohesive. They do a lot of retreats. They sit, they speak. They understand where they are. They understand they're not a major party, but they are a critical party in terms of that they have a swing vote. So anytime in parliament something needs a swing vote, a vote needs a swing vote, they're able to position themselves as that party. That's what Jubilee should be doing right now. We're not a major party in terms of that we have the numbers to be able to push something against everybody else and pass it. But we have critical enough numbers to be able to actually stop something. We also have the capacity to make noise outside.
Yeah.
Because making noise outside, as we have learned from ODM over the years, doesn't need many numbers. You just need to have a cohesive message and consistency. Now, that's what Jubilee ought to be doing right now. We have a background. We were in government for 10 years.
Yeah.
So we have a history. We're able to pick up things. I was reading through the proposed budget that the president has come up with, and there's a lot of money going into projects that were run under Jubilee. That's something Jubilee should be talking about and owning that this work is continuing. So it shows we are not just lost, as we were told. Because if we are continuing roads in Mau Mau, we are continuing roads, the Kenol, we are continuing projects in Kisumu and other places. This is something that Jubilee can run with.
What you are doing.
It's an endorsement of what Jubilee was doing. So if we were structured, if we were thinking ahead, that's what we ought to be talking about. It also allows us to be able to step in. We've had this conversation about subsidies. The subsidy program was a program that Jubilee created during its term. It was removed by the Kenya Kwanza government. The people who should have talked about it the most are Jubilee. They should have explained it. They should have talked about the challenges of removing it. They should have demanded for a clear idea of how it would be replaced. I have had Kenya Kwanza government talking about investing in production and saying that Jubilee was investing in consumption. So that conversation. So Jubilee has a lot of platforms. We have a lot we can leverage, having been a ruling party. We also must learn from KANU. You know, KANU is now a ruling party that just now operates outside the field with us. So, I mean, we have to decide, for heaven's sake, how
you guys could form your own
you could
stadium.
form our own, we open another stadium outside and we just play our own game. But we have an opportunity.
Can have a league in Dogo.
And you know, we create our own league. We just decide, okay, you guys are playing Premier League. As you guys have been relegated, we go back down here, we change the game a bit, and we start playing. But we will not be able to do that until we sort this thing that we're having internally. But it's a very simple thing. It just requires people to stop being emotional and think about the party as a political vehicle that's supposed to take membership forward. How do we, when you have a conversation about we don't want to work with government, who are we going to work with? I mean, how do you sit here and tell us as a party, we have a problem with Jubilee accepting overtures from government? At that point where ODM, as Azimio, because that now is like ODM and Wiper that are having a conversation with Kenya Kwanza. ODM and Wiper, through a bipartisan process, are already having a conversation about already accepting overtures from government. Because that's what the bipartisan conversation is. Government reaching out to ODM and Wiper, because now Jubilee is not part of it. But then somebody over here is saying, but Jubilee shouldn't be doing it. And I'm like, what are you guys talking about? Let's be real. Let's be honest. The government is already reaching out to ODM. The government is already reaching out to Wiper. They're actually having a formal, structured engagement.
And you're outside.
And Jubilee is outside. And when Jubilee tries to open its own door over here to have, an engagement.
To be at the table.
To be at the table, we are told, no. Why are you guys talking to government? I'm like, come on.
So then there's a case there.
Let's take a break. It's 8:30. An interesting conversation that we're having here with Ngunjiri Wambugu, former member of parliament for Nyeri Town, a member of Jubilee. And we're talking about the Jubilee and the infighting within Jubilee. And Ngunjiri is very categorical today. He's saying he thinks the party leader, former President Uhuru Kenyatta, should take a backseat in the leadership of Jubilee immediately for the sake of the party.
Yep.
Higher. Let's continue this conversation after this break. Keep it here. Good morning.
Hello.
This is season 5 on The Art of Living.
Welcome home.
We engage outstanding personalities in their extraordinary home.
The only thing I've brought into this house, I think I've made it a home.
Yes, this is custom piece. I love what we did here.
We get to see how they live it up.
This is really, really cute. My goodness.
Only on KTN Home.
Make your mealtime more magical. Buy any participating pack. Check under the cap to get your code and stand a chance to win free food shopping for a year, plus millions in instant cash, airtime, and shopping vouchers.
Inaitwa radio zaidi ya radio maisha, tuko mbele pamoja.
Right, kama ulivyosikia hapo, nitakuwa na Mwananguze kila siku ya Jumatatu mpaka Ijumaa ndani ya Radio Maisha kuanzia saa 12 asubuhi mpaka saa 4. Naitwa Solomon Zuli, au sio? Na kuanzia sasa itakuwa ni Zuli na Sugar Boy.
Value your feedback and welcome any comments, queries, or complaints regarding our programs. You can get in touch with us on SMS 22151, no charges. Call 0719012450. Or you can send us a letter on Post Office Box 30080-00100. Or deliver it to our offices at Standard Group Center, Mombasa Road, Nairobi.
This week on Wake Up and Makeup, we are talking about personal branding. My guests and I go on a journey to transform our physical, mental, and emotional well-being. You'll also get tips from the experts on how to be your best self.
First, what do you stand for? You have to understand what you stand for. And unfortunately, nobody can do for you that work.
What you can do to improve your health and why brain fog, fatigue, anxiety, depression, and lack of clarity of your vision as well.
Make sure you don't miss this life-transforming episode only on Wake Up and Makeup.
Amplify.
Nataka kuenjoy nawe unataka kuenjoy.
Amplify every weekday from 11:30 a.m. to 12 p.m. Tatua.
Town MP, member of Jubilee, and he has a message to the registered party leader of Jubilee, which is take a back seat. Recuse yourself from the leadership of the party. But must he?
Actually, no, he doesn't. He has the right, constitutional right, to continue doing politics for as long as he wants. And the only reason I'm asking him to do that is because usually the party leader of a party is somebody who is running for opposition in government. And he can't. So I don't understand why he would want to continue being.
But maybe this is the best thing for Kenya right now, because this is a problem that we've had. We've had a problem where the party leader, because they are running for the presidency, they sort of also tend to be like the owner of the party. They tend to be the one who dictates everything that happens in the party. So even members of parliament in a political party have got to listen to what the party leader is saying. And that time the party leader is in State House. So you find you have problems, like you had problems in the 12th parliament, and in the 11th parliament as well, in holding the government properly accountable. Because many of the members of Jubilee really cannot. What will you tell Uhuru? He's the boss.
Unfortunately, the reality of politics is that political parties are about getting political power to implement policies.
That's true.
So either you're in government, and that's what the political party is, in government, as we were before, or you're trying to get into government. Even when you're in opposition, you're opposing and challenging and critiquing to get to government, so that you can be the one implementing. Because the idea is nobody runs to be opposition. I mean, nobody runs for office to be
second,
to be the second, or to be in the opposition.
Yeah.
You go to the opposition as you mark time for the next election, that hopefully you can actually run government. And this is now where my problem with our party leader is. He has already run government. The vision, the kind of vision, because parties are run by visions. We are going there. What makes me follow you is because you're taking me somewhere. So if you are the party leader, unless we come up with a process that says that the party leader is like a patron of the party. But you see, we're going to war. Politics is like, it's been equated to war for a long time. I want to follow somebody who's going to be at the war with me because he's going somewhere, not somebody who's going to be sitting outside telling me when I used to be at war, this is what we used to do. You can advise me like that when we are planning, but when I go to war, I don't want you telling me how we used to fight, how from outside. I want you in there with me because we are going. When what we get, you will be part of it. Because that's how you fight.
Sure. If we apply a little bit more depth to this, isn't this then the fundamental problem with having parties in this country and in others as well, led by a character instead of an ideology? Because what would happen is that it wouldn't matter who was at the helm. If the ideology essentially was the leader of the party, it wouldn't matter who came in. That even after you had somebody who was at the helm of the party, the helm of the country, helm of government, and when they were gone, because it was the ideology that was driving this party, it wouldn't matter who was at the head. Can we now start to see the fundamental problem with having individuals driving parties? Because now your everything, your blood, sweat, tears is vested in this individual, to where they will essentially carry you, who is seeking a position as governor, as MP, as senator. Not because you want to take this thing that the party believes in and then go and apply it in different regions where you can govern. But because it is the individual who has taken me there, your allegiance, it's continually for this person. You continually want to kiss the ring. And if that person leaves, guess what? It collapses like a house of cards, like what we're seeing here.
Actually, Jubilee Party might be the first party that's breaking that tradition. Because we are the party that is saying we have had a leader called Uhuru Kenyatta. He took us this far.
Yeah.
And now we want Uhuru Kenyatta, we're telling Uhuru Kenyatta, you got us where we need, so what you're talking about is the ideology. This is the ideology of our party, the issue of unity, development. We put a lot of focus into development until we lost focus in politics. But that could have been one of the things that our party was known for. So we are saying, we're done. Now we are repositioning and reorganizing and re-strategizing ourselves for another run into government or be part of government. And we are respectfully telling the personality that run our party that it's time for a different leadership.
Okay.
So our party is not dying with the personality. Okay. And we might actually be the first party that is saying that. Because you see, if we were so enamored by the party leader, by the personality we have, we would be following what the party leader is saying without question. We are saying
also,
boss,
this is the first time that after serving their term, a party leader wants to stay on. All right? We didn't see that much with Moi. Moi stayed, as sort of patron. And allowed Uhuru Kenyatta to be, although he was chairman, Moi was the party leader, all right? But he served as patron and allowed Uhuru Kenyatta to take the reins of the party. When Mwai Kibaki left PNU, he left. He doesn't even remember PNU. He was gone.
He was gone.
And now we are seeing a former president leaving office, but still retaining the structure of the party and saying, you know what? Yes, we took government. I was privileged to be the head of government under Jubilee, but we can still take government again. I don't have to be the one who's head of government in Jubilee, but I can lead the party again to victory. I have got the experience of having run presidential campaigns, having lost, having won, having supported, having lost. I can guide the party to another one. It doesn't have to be the one who becomes the candidate.
I hear you. But where is that conversation happening? Because you see, that conversation needs to be happening somewhere. And
it's too early. He wanted to call an NDC. You guys refused.
No, remember, first and foremost, we have a law. We have a law that was actually passed during our term that asks a retired president or a president who's left office to retire from active politics in 6 months. Right?
I think it's unconstitutional.
It is unconstitutional.
Just thinking about it.
It is, but then it's completely unconstitutional, but it hasn't been challenged by anybody. That's the first thing. The second thing is, I have no problem if that's the argument that Uhuru Kenyatta comes with to the party. Because I want to hear that argument, then I want to hear somebody else say, no, me, I think I have a better ability to take this party to where it needs to go now with the dynamics of where we are now. And then a third part, and maybe even Ngunjiri himself also puts in his speech.
Yeah.
I want us to have that conversation within the confines of the party. I don't want anybody to make a decision. And that's why I hear this issue of there's a Kanini side, there's a Kioni side, and I'm like, no, we shouldn't have individual personality types. What we need to have is, what is the best side for the party to be in? Can you all come there? So that if the best place for the party to be is a conversation where Uhuru Kenyatta comes and says, I know I did 10 years in leading this party. I think I can do another 5.
Yeah.
And this is how I'll do it. Then we can challenge him or support him. But then when we come out of that room, we'll come out as one party saying, we have all had a conversation, we have listened to the former president, and we buy his concept of where he wants to take us, and we want him to continue being party leader. That conversation needs to happen. And it needs to start happening from the grassroots going up. And that's why I was one of the people who actually had a problem with the NDC on the 22nd. Right now, we don't even know where our documents as a party exist, what our membership list looks like. We've just come out of an election where games are played within party lists.
Boss, didn't you just hold an NDC before the election the other
Let me
day?
tell you what happens just before elections.
You saw. At
Yes.
KICC.
When we were, yes.
Colorful.
Yes.
This is the Jubilee Party National Delegate Conference.
Yes.
In which you endorsed that you're not going to have a candidate.
And we are
you're
going
to
have
support.
to join as
Exactly. Then we went and we did that, and history
And you're
tells
saying
us
since then,
that decision didn't work.
About 6 months later,
Actually, it's
documents
close to
are
a year.
lost.
It's a year. It's a year.
It was about.
It's a year.
Yeah.
When you're going to have
Documents are lost.
especially in a party, in a situation that is this
Fluid.
contaminated. It's actually contaminated. Let's be very honest. When you have, because let me tell you, Eric, how do you call a party the third largest party, or the second largest, or the largest?
Votes.
Because membership in parliament.
Yes.
It's not even votes.
It's the members in parliament.
It's the members in parliament. So we have a situation where we are the third largest party in parliament, but out of 38 members of parliament, like 35 of them do not agree with what's going on in the party right now. Right?
Yeah.
So can we have a conversation beginning from where we are? And this is the one thing I agree with Kenya Kwanza government on, that bottom-up thing of conversations. We start having a conversation from the grassroots. So by the time we're going to an NDC, we have at least have had a conversation across the country about what happened in the last election. How did we perform so badly, having been a ruling party? What are we going to do different? So that even when you're coming, whether it's Uhuru or Kioni or Kanini or Sabina coming to tell us, I want to be this in the new organization, we've had a conversation about how you performed in the old one. Remember, Kioni was the Secretary General when we were going to the elections.
Yes.
How did he perform? Does he carry any baggage for our failures or successes? Has he been able to articulate those? And we know how NDC is. You can't go and have that conversation at NDC. Can we have even just 47 caucuses?
Yeah.
We have the money for it. Jubilee is one of the richest parties we have in the country.
So why not the NDC?
Start
Because
the conversation.
the NDC brings in delegates from across the country.
Yes, but have the conversation at the grassroots, because these things were happening at the grassroots. Elections were happening at the grassroots.
Are those not grassroots leaders who would be coming to an NDC?
Why not have what's the hurry? We're not a ruling party. Where are we rushing to? Why don't we take 1 year to just sort ourselves out? Prepare ourselves. Somebody said if you're going to cut a big tree with an axe, first sharpen your axe. Right now we are going into an NDC with a very blunt axe.
You don't have an axe.
Actually, we may not even have the axe. Can we first go and buy an axe, put a stick on it, sharpen the thing, go and cut the tree, put a handle on it, sharpen the thing and go and cut the tree. Before we start, now we are trying to cut a tree without an axe. So can we first have a conversation? And for
how
me,
would this, you see, Ngunjiri,
Yes.
also look at it from the context of where your party is at
Yes,
right now.
yes.
Right now, your leadership does not agree. It seems to be speaking that different leaders who are coming up.
at national level,
At national level.
that problem is not happening at the grassroots level.
Bas. So who would coordinate the grassroots conversation?
We have
Who
county
would be
leadership.
able to pick up the conversation?
One of the things you find is that we don't have a challenge at county level. I haven't had any county leader being challenged by another one. So if you were to have a meeting, for example, in Nyeri right now, we have a county leadership in Nyeri that doesn't even involve us who are running, who would most probably be very able to convene a meeting at Nyeri County for Jubilee. Have that conversation. Have it. These leadership wrangles are at the top. They're not at the bottom. Let us have the conversation at least county level, just 47 meetings. You can hold them within a 3 to 6 month period. Let every meeting generate, and that's something we get beaten by ODM, by the way. ODM, by the time
That's
ODM
what I'm
are generating
asking.
something at national level, they've had it at the grassroots level, at county level at least. So how do you do this? Because our party, you see, we are having a wrangle. We're having wrangles about up here. The one thing I don't think they can not agree on, because if you're going to come and tell us you don't want us to have a grassroots conversation, then we're going to have a problem with you.
So then,
Because if any of these factions, then both of these factions, the first thing they need to agree on, can we have a county conversation? Come all of you if you want.
so then begs the question,
Acting and real, come.
all of you.
Come,
So
all of you.
Ngunjiri, Is
Listen.
it possible that these wrangles that you talk about being at the top,
Yes.
is there then genuine interest for the proliferation of the party, or is it individuals who are seeking expediency?
Unfortunately, in politics, it's usually a very thin line between personal interests and party interest. So the first thing we have to agree is that for anybody who wants to lead a party, he's going to have a personal interest that drives him to then align it, hopefully, with the party, so that you have a party interest that you're pursuing as you pursue your personal interest. And the argument that I've had people saying that, oh, this guy is running, wants to do this for his own personal interest. I'm like, everybody wants to do this for their own personal
It's always
interest.
personal.
At first level, personal interest, then party interest, or whatever it is. The issue is, does your party interest actually serve our party interest? And that is actually where you're seeing this challenge at this moment in time. That's why we're talking about emotions. If your personal interest at this moment in time is driven by emotions that do not accept the reality of the current political setting, that we have William Ruto as president, we have Kenya Kwanza running government. If your personal interest does not accept that, then there's no way you're going to run our party. Our party interests are not going to go in, are not going to be real, are not going to be based on reality. Because you're still operating from the basis of, apana, something happened. When you have a conversation about, 1 year down the road, we can't be having a conversation about who won the last election. When we are about to pass a budget, that's going to determine how we're going to implement stuff. So if that is a conversation, that if you want to lead our party to have that conversation, some of us are going to say no.
Ngunjiri, why does this matter? Why,
What?
All of this. Why does it matter? Why does it matter that you had what once was a ruling party, then seem to be in the doldrums today, when you want to compare that to the things that are happening in the country? Why wouldn't you just say, okay, look, if there's a problem, if you people can't sort yourselves out, then just leave it there? Why does it have to make headlines? Why do we have to be fed this whole thing about who is not agreeing about what? Why is it important?
Because communities are run by 3 pillars. Politics is one, economy is the other one, social is the other one. So for as long as we are around, we're going to have a political conversation. 2, I think this is very important because it's an example. However, whatever happens to Jubilee, for example, should it go and get swallowed up by Kenya Kwanza, for example, we'll have a conversation of what happens to ruling parties when they leave office. We saw it happen with Kanu, right? We're seeing it happen again. So for those of us, I'm a philosopher, scholar, you want to learn, you want to see how communities and countries and nations exist. So it is important. But then also, at a much more contemporary basis, we are a multi-party democracy as a country. It is important for these parties to be able to go into an election, lose, and continue. Because we can't have a situation where once a party loses an election, then it dies. Because then we're going to be forming parties only for a 5-year sharp focus. So right now, what Jubilee should be doing and should be telling the rest of the country, this is what a ruling party does after it loses an election. This is how you adjust yourself. We can learn from anybody. We can learn from Israel. Benjamin Netanyahu has led the Likud, called the Likud party.
Currently, it's Likud.
It's called Likud. I mean, that party has been in and out of government. Italy, same thing happens. We see in America. I mean, our democracy is maturing. That's one of the things we have to accept. We are doing so much better than our neighbors. Some of the things that are happening can't be happening in our neighboring countries. What we need to do is protect that progress that has come, so that we are able to say, you can actually be a ruling party and lose. Now we know that you can be a president who preferred a certain candidate. We've seen it twice. And the country continued. Nothing really bad happened, right? So we saw it with Moi, we've seen it with Uhuru. We've learned something from there. So now let's come to the party issues and say, okay, so you can actually be a ruling party. So KANU went this far. It's never really died. So can Jubilee go further? Right? And what was the problem? Why didn't KANU take off? Why didn't KANU? Maybe part of it was because it got stuck with the old leadership. Maybe if it gets new leadership that is aggressive, that is willing to be dynamic, that's willing to play the game, that can actually go and sit down with President Ruto and say, boss, we're going to work with you for 3 years. If you can prove to us that it's worth working with you, we'll support you in 2027. If you can't, we'll walk out and go and support whoever it is who looks strong enough.
Or we'll have our own candidate.
Or we'll have our own candidate.
Which is why, by the way, Ngunjiri, I'm seeing that probably with a former president being a party leader, you have the greatest advantage as Jubilee. Because this also allows internal competition. You know, nobody can challenge if Raila is the party leader of ODM and Raila is going for the presidency again.
Yes.
Nobody can challenge Raila, realistically, for that slot. Now it allows Ngunjiri Wambugu, you want to be president and you want the Jubilee ticket, you can run for it because the party leader is not automatic. He's automatically not.
He's already automatically disqualified.
He's automatically not the candidate.
That would be a brilliant.
Maybe this is the thing that you need to be pushing for. Such that now with Uhuru as party leader, then the structures of the party can work without thinking that, Uhuru is only thinking of his campaign for 2027, that Uhuru is only thinking who he's going to negotiate with, whether he's going to work with Ruto so that then he can get some support, or he's going to work with Raila so that they can form a coalition. So Uhuru is not thinking any of those things. He's just thinking, how am I going to get my party to be recognized again?
But
to be the ruling party again.
That would have been a brilliant way forward.
It still
until
can.
he took sides.
What sides?
You see, at this moment in time, Uhuru is assumed to be on Kioni's side because he was protecting Kioni when he came out that day against Kanini. And I say that for me, that was my breaking point with him. Because I really would have preferred for him, because had he continued operating from the level you're saying, he would have been able to call both of them, both sides. Call them to a table as party leader. But then you'll notice that the challenge to him as party leader only occurred after that moment. Before that, nobody had a problem with him as party leader. And we were very happy to see these factional wars because, again, factional wars are good because whatever leadership emerges from it has won. So now, okay, you chapaned with this guy and he won. Sawa, now you leaders. Until the point at which he started looking like he's taking a side. And now he became part of the factional war. While he should have played outside it, so that he can keep having the conversation. Why do you need to do this, Kanini? Why do you need to do this, Kioni? Why can't you guys sit down and talk? This party is more important than any of you. So that's what he should have been doing. And by the way, he still has a chance. If he moves out of this and he, as I said, moves back from these fights and now starts operating from the point of, I am a party leader, I am not running for office again, I'm only interested in the best interest of this party and I want to hear every side. So that every side comes to the table. Everybody, and my Ngunjiri included, this is my problem with what is happening in the party at this moment in time. We have that, and that's what I was saying, that conversation needs to start down here. And maybe that is what the former president should be saying. Okay, let's stop this, because we're having a national wrangle. And it's not happening at the grassroots. Can we first go to the grassroots?
Can we ask the members?
And he would be the best person to actually lead that conversation if he did it from a neutral and non-partisan position. Because he is the one person who still has the gravitas to call anybody in the party, and they will come. If he comes to Nyeri and convenes a Jubilee party leadership meeting in Nyeri, everybody will show up, whether you support Kanini or you support Kioni. And then you'll have an open conversation, come up with a way forward as Nyeri, go to Muranga, go to Malindi, go to Kilifi, go to Homa Bay. At the end of it all, we have 47 positions. And then now we take this to a national delegates conference where the people of Nyeri come and meet the people of Malindi. This is what you guys of Nyeri were proposing. This is what Malindi came. We have tried to synchronize this, and these are the top 5 things we've come up with. Uhuru can lead us through that process, but he can't do it if he's playing partisan politics within the party.
What do you think is going to happen next?
I think the NDC is not going to happen. I've seen too many people from the neck. I mean, I saw former nominated MP Osman go to court to try and get an injunction. I think everybody is going to move back from the NDC first, which is a good thing. I really, really pray that the proposal to have county-based forums is going to happen, because there's no reason why they can't happen. As I said, the party has enough money to actually have county forums, right? They just need to be inclusive of every faction. If we do that and we do it well over the next 1 year, we can actually consolidate Jubilee's strength. I think it's important for us to also understand that there are third-party influences happening within Jubilee. Everybody, whether it's Kenya Kwanza, if I was William Ruto, I would be very interested in seeing what's happening to Jubilee, because Jubilee can be a problem if they're mismanaged. So I'd be interested in seeing, and it's important for us to remember that, because for him in 2027, he's going to be looking at getting support from as many people as possible.
Yeah.
So as Jubilee, if I was part of the decision-making process at national level for Jubilee, I would be saying, can we position ourselves so that anybody who's running for presidency 2027, if it is not us, because let me be honest, I don't think we're going to be ready to have a candidate again in 2027. Not if we are fighting like this now. This thing is in 4 years. So the best we can do is actually position ourselves to be a strong, see what Musalia did with the ANC or Kalonzo, to be a strong support structure party for somebody who's running for presidency in 2027, and be able to put certain things so that we can actually now get into, because now we're not in government at all. We're not in cabinet, we're not at the executive level at all. And even at Parliament, we are playing. We're not even in leadership. I think we only have one chairman of a committee or two at the most. So we're really playing. I don't know what league we are playing. So what we need to be thinking about, and what anybody who wants to lead this party needs to be telling us, is how do you move us from where we are right now to the next level? Can you move us into the executive leadership or even to the national leadership? Bring that proposal. As a party, let's listen. Let's position ourselves without deciding that this is our enemy or this is our friend. At this moment in time, we need to put everybody on that side and first think as Jubilee what is in our best interests.
Ngunjiri, thank you for joining us.
Asante sana.
We wish the party all the best. Huh?
Thank you. Thank you. Oh,
we've seen them come, and we've seen, well, Kanu is still there.
Yes.
We don't know about DP anymore. NAC is still there with Charity Ngilu, and that's it. PNU.
They all show up during elections, by the way.
So, with Jubilee,
we'll give it our best shot.
All right. Yep. Ngunjiri Wambugu is a former member of parliament for Nyeri Town constituency. He is a member of Jubilee. We'll be talking about what's happening in Jubilee. Keep it here for more conversations. Good morning, 9 a.m.
Spice up your life.